The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. On this is actually going to be the next to last show in the month of May. We are in May 25th now. This is the final week of May, and what a year it's been for the show. I have another Zoom show tonight. I have an actor. I think it was an author, and he might be. I think he's an actor too, but I think he's more an author. We're going to talk all about that. I'm not even sure where he is, but we'll figure that out. We'll find all that out like we always do. But before we get to him, got to be these incredible underwriters, and then we will commence per usual. So, got some new ones. We got Rod Smoke Barbecue and Pizza in Brockton. They're a new one. We got Lynch's Towing, Auto, Cycle, and Truck Center in Brockton. One number for towing, one number for projects. Lynch is always looking for new scrap metal wheels, anything to do with transportation. He takes care of over there. We got One Good Credit in Brockton. We got Auto Town, Auto Glass, and Auto Body in Abington. We got A1's Tire and Auto Center in Brockton. Always looking for new service writers and techs. And even if you don't know how to do it, send someone by that does. We got a new barbershop, Blends Brothers Barbershop in Brockton. We got Uplifted Nutrition in Taunton. We got 111 Tattoo Collective in Brockton. We got Royal Pizza in Raynham. They make great salad dressing and other things. We got Premier Martial Arts also in Raynham. We got Eli's Auto Care in Taunton. We got Aspire Health and Nutrition in Raynham. We got Just 101 Barbershop in Brockton. We got Advanced Auto Performance in Brockton. They do great things with transportation with under the hood and the brakes and all that. We got the Gun Runner LLC, the Second Amendment Freedom Store in Middleborough. We got Grant's Rental in Bridgewater. We got Chapin Sheds in Whitman. We got Easton Fitness right in the Village Shops in Northeastern. We got D&S Auto Works and Collision Specialists in Abington on Route 58. We got Doggy Boutique, all breed professional grooming for dogs and cats, run by my great next door neighbor, Debbie Siddell in Brockton. We got Manny's Auto Repair in Taunton. We got Joe's Diner in Taunton, and we got John's Greenhouses and Florist Shop in Brockton. I want to thank you guys very much. And now on that note, I'll introduce officially Mr. John Theo. And as you can see behind him, he has a collection of his book covers. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where are you actually? Are you in the Boston area?
No, I grew up in the North Shore, lived on Cape Ann for
Love that area.
Yeah, I grew up in Danvers actually. Currently I'm in Virginia right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But, let me start at the beginning. Grew up in Danvers. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Danvers.
I know Danvers, sure. I know Danvers. I've had relatives in Salem. I used to go up there through there all the time. They're all witches. Just kidding.
Actually, Danvers is where the witch trials really started. It was known.
I never knew that. My God, you learn something every day. And when I learn it on Topic Time, I'm enthralled. That's incredible.
It was known as Salem Village back in the 1600s, and in the actual archaeological dig where Samuel Parrish lived with the slave Tituba, and that whole thing is still there in Danvers. And so that's where the witch trials actually really started, was in Danvers.
Wow.
But, lived in Danvers for several decades, and as soon as I could afford it, moved to Cape Ann. I loved the ocean. Lived there for 25 years with my wife, and moved to Virginia 6 years ago.
Are you on Virginia Beach by any chance?
What'd you say?
Are you on Virginia Beach?
No,
Beach.
I'm inland a little. We go to Virginia Beach as much as we can because we do miss the ocean.
Oh, okay. Well, the reason I'm asking is because you were a Boston area guy for a long time before you moved down there. You may remember the TV show Extra. Not Extra. I mean, it was, I can't think, Evening Magazine from the.
Yes.
Well, was a Zoom guest, and I had him on one of my other locations, and he's in Virginia Beach.
Really? I remember Barry Nolan.
I interviewed him on April 5th at my Area 58 location. That's in Carver, Mass. This is Easton. And I do the show in Wareham, too. That's my third location.
Wow. Yeah, I remember Barry, and I forget his co-host, Sarah
Edwards. Yep.
We talked about that. Right. I remember that.
Yeah. And, so I got to interview him back then. It was an honor to interview him. I'm a Facebook friend of his. And I always love having people in the media on as guests because, we're all part of the same team, really.
Exactly.
And as are you. All right. Well, so you're a writer and an actor. Is that true, or are you just a writer?
I'm a writer now. I did some acting.
Acting. Okay.
Yeah, I did some acting back in the day, and I wouldn't have mentioned it, but there's a little story that goes with it because when I
I want to hear all
writing,
about it. We want to cover everything about you during this show. So go
when
ahead.
I got
Talk
into
about that.
writing, my passion was screenwriting.
Okay.
So back in the 90s and early 2000s, that's what I really wanted to get into. And there was, unlike, being a teacher or being a mechanic, being an accountant, you have a pathway for that career. You go to school, you get a degree, you get an internship, and you get a job.
Right.
Anything in the arts, especially in the creative arts, especially anything to do with Hollywood, there's no pathway to get into that. You have to kind of make your own way. I went to a Nantucket Film Festival one year, and there was a panel of screenwriters, and every single screenwriter became a screenwriter through some weird happenstance.
Well, I always say everything happens for a reason. So I don't think there's such a thing as a coincidence, but I understand what you're saying.
So my route, unlike Affleck and Damon, who used their screenwriting to springboard their acting, I wanted to do some acting to springboard my writing, to make some connections, because I found out it's who you know as much as what you know in that industry. And this was back in the day before the Boston film scene really took off, and before Boston casting was a big place, and so I was really just trying to make as much connections as possible. So the acting I did was really a means to an end. Ironically, I had no interest in it whatsoever. I did some acting on TV and
whoa, hold up! What did you do on TV?
The biggest thing I did was a movie of the week called Code of Silence on the Discovery Channel.
Okay.
It was about the Charlestown bank robberies.
Okay, so were you a cast member of the?
Yeah, I was a cast member. It was actually the Ben Affleck movie, The Town. It was that whole crime scene and that group, which that movie was based on, the Charlestown bank robberies, which is based on a real story. So
I know. I figured that.
Movie of the week.
Charlestown is a crime real area. So it
was the real bank robbers. So I was in that movie of the week.
What did you play in it?
I played the right-hand man. So
of the robbers or the cop?
Yeah, I was a bank robber.
Guy.
I was a bad guy.
Cool.
Michael O'Harahan I played, and it was interesting. And I got to see behind the scenes how things were shot. I went to South Carolina for the film, and got to see how got to see how everything was run. And I was constantly trying to poke around and see behind the scenes how.
All right, hold up a second. Now, did you shoot the film in Charlestown? Were your
No, they shot it on a back lot in South Carolina.
Oh, so you went down to South Carolina?
Yeah.
Did you work with those guys, Affleck and?
No. That was a Hollywood movie. This was a movie of the week for the Discovery Channel. So this was just like a documentary.
Also more of a documentary, but
it was that movie. I
mentioned
that because that fiction movie was based on this real life bank robbery that happened in Charlestown. I mean, Charlestown's known for its bank robberies, but this spree of bank robberies is what that was based upon.
Wow.
Anyways, so that was like the biggest thing I did, and then did some other print things, a commercial, and just a bunch of print, and just really was trying to push my screenwriting and trying to make connections. So while other guys were really trying to get into acting, I'm trying to find a way to market my writing, and I had really no interest in that stuff. Eventually realized after a decade of learning the craft of screen, and this was before a lot of the software came out for screenwriting. I spent a long time learning the craft of screenwriting, and eventually learned it's very much a collaborative art.
Did you go to school for this?
I eventually did get my master's degree in creative writing. It's a small school in Newton called Pine Manor. It's an undergrad all-girls school, graduate school's co-ed. It's now part of LaSalle University.
That's interesting because I went to Mount Ida, which was all girls, and also Newton for a while.
Oh, really?
I'm wondering if they must be close by each other.
Maybe. It's a small school, but the teachers were all. I had some really.
It's actually better. Sometimes you're better off getting educated in a smaller, a smaller group of people because they can focus more on you, and you can get and just like in public school, you're probably better off with the fewer the kids and the fewer the distractions, the more likely you are to succeed in whatever it is you're attempting to.
Yeah, all the professors there were like award-winning professors.
No kidding! Wow,
I got a really good education there, and now they're part of LaSalle University.
Yeah, I know LaSalle too. How long ago did you do this? How long ago did you go to school there?
Oh boy, probably 15 years ago I got my master's.
Okay, that's pretty good. A master's. Did you? So it was just one. You didn't transfer from another school because I did.
No, I got my undergrad at Salem State College.
Oh, you did go. Oh, okay, so you
Yeah.
did have an undergrad thing. I did my
Yeah.
writing, then I did Curry. My writing for 3 years and Curry for a year, and got my bachelor's, associates, and then bachelor's in communications. So
Nice.
yeah, it is, and
Excellent.
that's what I'm doing now, obviously.
Yes, sir.
All right, so
yeah, I commuted to Salem State. I was a lower middle class family. The thought of the ability to go away to college wasn't on the table for me. So commuted to Salem State College, now Salem University. So I had a very different college undergrad experience than most kids my age. Worked all through college, but
doing what?
I just got a liberal arts degree, and I worked.
No, I know, but what did you? When you say you worked,
I worked for a software company in Cambridge.
Okay.
And the irony is, when I graduated in '94 from college, it worked out to my advantage because it was a mini recession then. So a lot of kids graduating college then didn't have any jobs waiting for them, and I had a part-time job, which I was able to go work in the .com industry in Cambridge, Mass, which ended up being an incubator for the .com boom. So I got to see a lot of stuff happen in the 90s in Cambridge, Mass.
Okay.
Worked there for a decade and got to see a lot of really neat stuff happen during that .com explosion.
Okay,
I remember when the internet came out and I didn't want to give up my Apple IIe. I was like holding it like the green monochrome computer, and I didn't want to give it up. I'm like, what is this internet stuff? I don't want to give up my Apple, but eventually I did, and the rest
Steve Jobs would have commended you for that.
Yeah, I still have that computer at home. I took it home with me.
Oh, I still have the one I got in 1985, and I don't. And, you know, it's still sort of, now it's like an antique.
Yeah, it is. It is.
All right. So so then you did. What did you do? Tell me about the projects that you've worked on.
Yes.
So it looks like you got quite a few. So let's talk about those.
Yes. So pivoted. Eventually realized that screenwriting was a very collaborative art, and I mean that pejorative. I don't mean that in a good way. Meaning like everyone gets their fingers into it. You don't. And I wanted to have as much creative freedom as possible. I always gravitated towards as much creativity, as much freedom as possible. I mean, in the movie industry, everyone thinks of like the directors having all this creative freedom, or the actors as being so creative, and they are, but they have to do what the writer tells them, and the actors have to do what the director tells them. So they're really restricted and they're shackled as far as where they can operate in their creativity. The writer really has the most creativity out of all of them, unless they're writing on spec, meaning they have to write a job told to them, like you're going to write X. Okay. So I always wanted to be in the most creative freedom as possible. And I realized screenwriting was a much more collaborative, meaning everyone had their fingers in the pot. So you hand in a cake to be baked, and at the end of the day, you're getting a bunch of donuts out, meaning everyone messes with you.
So it was more of a team effort than a
a team effort, not the best way, meaning like the hairstylist gets their input, the production person gets their input, the bankers get their input, the actors get their input, all these people get their input. And at the end of the day, your storyline, as you can see, a lot of the movies that come out, you're like, what is that thing? What just got made? So I wanted to have much more creative control over my work, and I ended up pivoting more towards prose, and that's what I went to grad school for.
Okay, well,
prose meaning books.
Okay, speaking of books, we're about halfway through the show right now.
Sure.
And what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple of trailers that you know, of books that you did, and we're going to talk about them. So keep watching, and we'll be right back to talk, John, about what we just watched. Oh, that was great. What did we just watch? Let's discuss those.
So I had two trailers for two recent books I had come out. One was part of my Brandon Hall mystery series. It's a traditional PI series, kind of like the Boston Spencer for Hire series that
Oh,
you
I
would see.
remember them.
Yeah, and that
Urich,
takes
the
place
late
in
great.
Virginia. It's a Virginia-based series, and it follows a guy that stumbles upon a lot of local scene stuff happening in Virginia. But the cool thing is of its proximity to Washington, D.C., so he also gets dragged into a lot of geopolitical stuff as well. So
Okay.
I have 5 books in that series already. So that's one of the trailers you saw. And the other trailer is for the Rucksack Kids. It's a middle grade series. It's kind of a throwback to like the Boxcar Children, Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, Tuck Everlasting, those classic books from like the 30s, 40s, and 50s. I wrote it in that style where there's a couple protagonists. It's written in third person omniscient, and it's just a very old-fashioned middle grade mystery series. So I kind of have a bunch of itches, if you will, and I'm able to write in different genres, whether it's sci-fi and mystery and conspiracy theories and all sorts.
Definitely nail biting.
Yes.
Tell me about the character that you just mentioned. What was his name?
The Brandon Hall.
Brandon Hall. Okay, what is he, like a private eye or something?
He's a private eye, but unlike other private eyes that are, ex-cops or whatever, he's actually a farmer in Southern Virginia.
Farmer in the Dells.
Who has some military experience. He does PI work on the side. But the different thing about this series is he does a lot of he'll investigate like people who are doing insurance fraud claims on their tractors or their cows going into someone else's property, little hobo country things. But then he gets all of a sudden dragged into Washington, D.C. stuff that's geopolitical. And you can't do this in other parts of the country like Chicago or D.C. or L.A. or New York or Boston because of this proximity to D.C. I'm able to just drag him into the DC politics.
It almost sounds like it's humorous irony here because because it's almost like you got a character who has this unusual situation and that's kind of surreal, but it gives you it gives you a tool to work with to spew out a lot of different ideas that make it more interesting and people are saying, wow, it's so original that they just want more of it, right? Is that kind of how it works? Yeah,
people really seem to enjoy it. It's definitely original. All my books are clean, family friendly, no gratuitous sex, no swearing.
Okay.
They have some Christian themes in them, some more than others. But with the adult novels, there's a lot of violence in them, even though they're clean.
You do separate them, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But with the Brandon Hall series, I'm able to, pull a lot of stories from headlines, whether it's riots happening in DC or globalist conspiracy theories, or you don't have to be that creative today to come up with some of these storylines with all the chaos going on in the world.
Well, give yourself credit because obviously you've done a lot of this, and you do have to be creative. You obviously have a feel for it, and it works out for you. So it's not like you're not creative. It's just that you've honed your skills, and now it feels like old hat to you.
I'd like to think so.
How many of these books have you turned out so far?
I have 14 novels under my belt so far.
That's quite an anthology.
I have 25 years of nonfiction work as well, magazines, newspapers.
25 years. So tell me about your family. Now I'm curious. You say you have a wife? Do you have kids?
Yes, wife, 4 kids.
Wow.
And we moved down to Virginia.
You don't even look that old. You look like you're only like 20, like maybe early 30s.
Yeah. I'm just turned 51.
Wow, amazing! Oh, no way! I never would.
Yeah, my wife and I we hit the eject button to get out of the rat race 6 years ago to come down to Southern Virginia to just slow down. We wanted to see our kids as they grew up. As you guys know,
they must be coming along in years too, right? I mean,
my oldest is 13.
Okay, then they're still kids, right?
Yeah, my youngest is almost 3. We had a baby during lockdown. We weren't expecting, but we're very blessed.
Of course.
And we're very happy to be here. It's a very slower pace of life, but we knew what we were getting into. My father worked 3 jobs when I was growing up, and I didn't see him much, and I didn't want that repeat for my children.
Oh, yeah.
And as everyone watching your show knows, in Massachusetts, most people have to have 2 incomes. They're working like crazy to make their bills.
Well, if they have a family, yeah, but if they're
Yeah,
single and don't have that, then it's a little easier.
yeah, but it's still tough, and
Oh, you can be.
it's my wife is a lawyer, and I was working in the corporate world. We were doing well for ourselves, and we're still struggling where we were on the North Shore in Cape Ann, anyways.
Okay,
And,
well, yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that the price of real estate is probably slightly lower where you are now than it was up in Cape Ann,
yeah,
right? I mean, because
yeah, it's a bit lower.
it's a bit lower. Yeah, I figured
Yeah,
that because otherwise that's why you're there.
Yeah.
And so do your kids inspire any of your ideas too? I figure maybe if you write about children's stuff that maybe they
Yeah, they do. They do. With the Rucksack Kids, I named the four kids after my children with the hopes that
There you go.
it would help them to get more involved with reading and maybe writing. And then my oldest daughter wanted to help do some of the writing with the book, so she kind of co-authored a couple of the books with me. And
Sweet.
here I am thinking she's 13. She'll maybe help with the storyline. No, she was line editing it with me. She's got her mother's brain. She's got her mother's lawyer brain.
It sounds like it's a very intelligent group of people you got there. You got your wife's a lawyer. What kind of lawyer? Is she a corporate lawyer?
Mostly real estate, business, general. She actually still telecommutes back to her law firm in Gloucester, Mass. So she still commutes to Massachusetts.
Wow.
So we were both.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Not by Zoom. She has to physically appear there.
No, she Zoom. She telecommutes.
Oh, by Zoom. Okay.
Oh,
So she doesn't have to actually go up there.
She still technically works in Massachusetts, and she's. It's funny because we were both in grad school at the same time, and we're very opposite. She's left brain, I'm right brain. We were both in bed working on our grad school thesis, and I'd be looking over at her. I'm like, honey, what are you working on?
You're like the perfect couple to me.
Oh my gosh, she'd be
yin yang
so
there.
opposite. She's like, I'm working on tort reform and constitutional law. And she's like, what are you working on? I'm like, I'm writing about dragons and unicorns and rainbows, and like we're completely opposite. She's very, methodical and in business, and I'm very much the creative one. So
no, that's great though. That's it sounds like you're like a literary law power couple, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. She's my first beta read whenever I finish the manuscript, and she's tough on me.
I bet she is.
Yeah. Red pen, she's like, nope. I'm like, can you give me a compliment, Nick? She's hard.
No, it's good though. It helps. It's obviously it's a great working and relationship you have.
It is.
I envy you there. I wish I had something like that. I got people on. I was a writer too. I wrote a book of short. I wrote poetry in the 70s when I was a teenager, and then in the 90s I wrote a really long book of short stories that I didn't even believe was going to be a book until it took me pretty much most of the decade to compile the stuff.
Yeah.
And then I did pretty well with it. I used to go selling it door to door, and it's totally off the wall. The books, the stories in there. I wouldn't recommend them to little kids unless, I don't care. It wouldn't matter to me if I had kids. I'd let them read it. But, if some people, if some of the content in there is a little raunchy, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, that's how Grisham started out. That's how a lot of famous people started out, was door to door, out of the trunk of their car. A lot of famous authors started out.
Tell me what you're working on currently.
Currently, I'm still working on the Brandon Hall series. I'm working on a Christmas book for the Rucksack Kids, and I'm actually working on another book that's I do a lot of I have a sci-fi itch I always have to scratch every once in a while. So I'm working on kind of a post-apocalyptic version, a futuristic retelling of the story of David and Jonathan from the Bible set in a post-apocalyptic setting.
David and Jonathan? You don't mean David and Goliath?
No, well, David and Goliath with Jonathan.
Okay, I didn't know who Jonathan was.
So it would be a post-apocalyptic setting of David versus Goliath but Goliath.
Who's Jonathan, the ref?
Jonathan's his best friend.
Oh, who's best friend? David's?
David's.
Okay.
And there's other characters, Sal and Samuel and other people, but it's in a post-apocalyptic setting. So I'm working on that currently, along with another book in the Rucksack Kids and another book in the Brandon Hall series.
Wow. Okay. So
I'm writing freelance nonfiction for a local magazine as well.
Oh, that's awesome. How much press coverage have you gotten so far? Have you ever been reviewed in the New Yorker or anything like that, or any of the?
I've been on local TV down here. I've gotten different press. I haven't been in the New Yorker or anything that nationwide. I don't know. I different blogs, different write-ups in different papers, local North Shore papers, local media in Massachusetts and Virginia. Like I said, I was on a TV show down here. Nothing like nationwide, like Fox News
I understand, but the TV show you were on down there, was that a cable TV show, or was it a regular TV station show?
It was a regular TV station show.
Okay.
It was like a
news show, right?
It was like a Barry Nolan evening
Oh,
mag.
I got you. Okay.
It was like that type of show.
Okay, but it's not syndicated around the country. It was
No,
just local.
no.
Okay.
No.
Well, how do you market your stuff besides, I mean, doing the shows like this? Tell me.
That's
about
tough because you think you've written a book and you're something special. It's like millions of people have written books out there.
Oh, I
So
know.
I'm constantly trying to think outside the box. Everyone advertises on Amazon. Everyone advertises on Facebook. So I'm trying to embrace different technologies, and I'm not very technical. That's the problem. These young kids are so good at it. YouTube. I'm trying to just embrace different video platforms because everyone's advertising on all the social media platforms. So I'm constantly trying to think outside the box. I advertise in magazine, like I advertised in like a Backwoodsman magazine for my Brandon Hall series, because that appeals to a lot of outdoorsmen and patriots.
Right.
So, but different magazines and different websites, I would advertise other things too. Like my Cape Ann's book has a lot of scuba diving in it, so I advertise to a lot of scuba diving.
When you create these, what I want to know is, have you created films out of your books with actors? Because that's what I think you should do. That's just my opinion. I think that would be great.
I did what was called a sizzle reel for 2 of my screenplays. It's like a 2-minute like mini film for the
like a trailer.
Yeah, like a book, like a trailer. But I do book trailers for the books themselves, which is like a movie trailer.
Right, but why not do like entire series, like anthologies?
Yeah. I should try to do something.
Definitely do that, because number one, you really, because today we're living in an era where everything is visual. So
I know.
Create something that you can put into film form.
I know.
And then
especially now with AI and there's animation and there's all this technology that I need to learn. It's like I wish there was 40 hours in a day.
You work for the software company. If you could learn this stuff.
I know.
Have your wife help you. She must know this stuff a little bit.
Well, it's the kids that know this stuff.
It's have them help you.
Young kids. So, yeah, I'm hoping my 13-year-old will start to learn some of this AI software.
You'd be amazed what children, the retention of children of knowledge is. My nephew, who's now 15, almost 16 years old, when he was a kid, he at 10 years old, he had his own YouTube site. I don't know if he still keeps it up.
Amazing. It took me a long time to learn how to do all that stuff.
That's what I suggest you do, because it looks like you got something great there, but I think you could really expand it if you took some, and then you could reach out to actors on Craigslist and say, hey, I need actors for this thing.
Yeah.
And then have auditions, and that's the way to go, I think. And you've done TV before, so you just be on the back, you just be behind the camera instead of in front of it. My hunch is
where I'd want to be. That's where I'd rather be.
Guess what, John? We're in the final 5 minutes of the show.
All right.
Well,
I appreciate you having me on. I really appreciate you having me on, Harrison.
I appreciate you too. You're a very interesting, colorful dude, and you're very creative. And those are the kind of people I love to get on the show. So what I want you to do, first of all, is to look at your screen there and give shouts out to a few people that are going to see the show, and then we'll wrap it up with my music the way we started it.
All right. I just want to say hi to all my North Shore friends. That I miss you guys all. Hi to my friend Pierre Rumpf, who's the one that turned me on to your show. He was on your show.
Oh yeah, I remember Pierre. Great guy. Yeah, he was on a few years ago.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Well, listen, on that note, if you know anybody that has an interesting story to tell down anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, give them my phone number. We'll get them on either in person or by Zoom,
All right.
Now, is there anything coming up on the horizon that you want to mention real quick before we wrap the show up that you might have overlooked?
Just check out my website, johntheo.com. That's the best place to see what's new in my work. I have a YouTube channel, Facebook. I'm on most social media, but my website, johntheo.com, has all my books and all my updates.
Great. Okay. All right. You did a wonderful job. I have one favor to ask. Once we wrap the show up, you just stick around and let my tech guy take a pic for Facebook, and I'll tag you in it. And if you want to tag me, that would be awesome too.
Okay.
All right. Great job, John. Thank you so much. Okay, folks, we're going to wrap the show up now. Have an awesome week. We'll see you next time. Wrapping it up, snapping it up.